Mystery Seekers, Episode 10, The Hidden Story Behind SAIL250, When the World's Tall Ships Returned. Every harbor has a story. Some stories are written in stone, others are written in water. The water remembers every ship that entered it, every sailor who crossed it, every battle fought upon it, every treasure carried beneath its sails, and every nation that rose because of it. This week, Mystery Seekers takes you to one of the largest maritime celebrations in American history. Not just to celebrate the ships, but to uncover why they still matter. Welcome to SAIL250, Baltimore. If you walk along Baltimore's inner harbor during SAIL250, you'll witness something few generations ever experience. Dozens of majestic, tall ships from around the globe. Naval vessels, Coast Guard cutters, military aircraft soaring overhead. Thousands of sailors, millions of footsteps. Hundreds of years of history gathered into one harbor. At first glance, it looks like a festival. But underneath the celebration lies an incredible story, one that began more than 60 years ago. The beginning of Operation SAIL. Most people assume Operation SAIL began in 1976. It didn't. Its origins actually go back to the early 1960s. A maritime historian named Frank Brainerd looked around the world and realized something alarming. The great age of sailing ships was disappearing. Steam power had replaced wind, steel had replaced wood, engines had replaced canvas. Many of history's greatest ships were being scrapped forever. Brainerd believed that if something wasn't done immediately, an entire chapter of human history would simply vanish. He partnered with retired U.S. Navy officer Niels Hansel. Together, they proposed something never attempted before. Invite the world's remaining tall ships, not for war, not for competition, but for friendship, for education, for peace, for history. The idea eventually gained the support of President John F. Kennedy, who saw the value of bringing nations together through maritime heritage. In 1961, Operation SAIL, Inc. was formed. Only 3 years later, history was made. The first Operation SAIL took place in New York City during the 1964 World's Fair. Imagine standing along New York Harbor. Instead of modern container ships, the horizon slowly fills with towering masts. Miles of rigging, massive white sails. Ships representing nations from around the world. Many had crossed oceans under nothing but wind. Some had trained generations of naval officers. Others had survived wars. Some were already more than a century old. For many Americans, it was the first, and perhaps only time, they would ever witness the age of sail with their own eyes. Operation SAIL was an overwhelming success, but no one yet realized something even larger was coming. 12 years later, America celebrated its 200th birthday. Operation SAIL returned. This time, it became legendary. More than 200 sailing ships and support vessels from dozens of nations sailed into New York Harbor. Millions of spectators packed the waterfront. Television cameras broadcast the spectacle across the world. Imagine the sight. Tower after tower of wooden masts stretching toward the sky. Gigantic square sails catching the morning wind. Cannons firing ceremonial salutes. Crew members climbing rigging hundreds of feet above the deck. The Statue of Liberty standing behind them. One image captured an entire nation's history. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery wasn't the ships themselves. It was who was sailing beside each other. During the Cold War, countries divided by politics, military rivals, even nations with deep ideological differences sailed peacefully together in the same harbor. Ships had become ambassadors. For one moment, the sea united what politics often divided. Have you ever wondered why humans have always been fascinated by ships? A ship is more than transportation. Ships carried explorers who mapped the world. Ships carried immigrants seeking freedom. Ships carried merchants who built economies. Ships carried armies. They carried ideas. They carried religions. They carried languages. They carried disease. They carried hope. Nearly every chapter of world history crossed an ocean first. Without ships, the modern world would look completely different. That is why preserving them matters. They're floating museums. Every plank, every mast, every rope tells a story. Now let's return to Baltimore. Why was Baltimore selected as one of the official SAIL250 host cities? The answer goes far beyond tourism. Baltimore is one of America's great maritime cities. During the War of 1812, Baltimore became famous for its privateers. Privateers were privately owned ships authorized to capture enemy vessels during wartime. These weren't pirates, they operated under government authorization. Baltimore's fast ships became so successful against British commerce that Britain nicknamed Baltimore the Nest of Pirates. Those sleek vessels became known worldwide as the Baltimore Clipper. Fast, agile, built for speed. Many historians consider them among the finest sailing ships ever designed in America. Then came the Battle of Baltimore. British forces attempted to capture the city. The defense of Fort McHenry inspired Francis Scott Key to write the words that became America's national anthem. The harbor wasn't simply watching history. The harbor was making history. Every wave beneath today's celebration once carried soldiers, cannons, merchants, shipbuilders, and defenders of a young nation. SAIL250 today. Fast forward to 2026. For America's 250th birthday, the tradition returns once again. SAIL250. Maryland transforms Baltimore into an international maritime celebration. Historic tall ships arrive from around the world. United States Navy vessels welcome visitors aboard. The Coast Guard demonstrates its proud traditions. Living history interpreters recreate life from centuries past. The Blue Angels thunder overhead. Families explore STEM exhibits. Children climb aboard ships their ancestors could only dream of seeing. What makes this event extraordinary is that it isn't simply about preserving history. It's about passing it forward. Every child inspired today may become tomorrow's sailor, engineer, historian, or explorer. The harbor's hidden stories. But mystery seekers always asks one more question. What mysteries remain? How many shipwrecks still rest beneath the Chesapeake Bay? How many cargoes disappeared forever? How many journals were lost to storms? How many captains entered Baltimore Harbor, never knowing they would never leave again? The Chesapeake contains hundreds of documented shipwrecks. Some have been explored, many have not. Others remain hidden beneath layers of mud and time. The harbor itself is an underwater archive. Every tide covers another story. Every storm uncovers another clue. History isn't only found inside museums. Sometimes it's still resting beneath the water. Why this celebration matters. Events like SAIL250 remind us that history isn't something locked inside books. History breathes. History sails. History returns. The ships arriving this week represent countries from across the globe. Different languages, different cultures, different flags. Yet for a few days, they share one harbor, just as they did decades ago, just as Operation SAIL envisioned over 60 years ago. What began as one historian's dream to preserve disappearing ships has grown into an international celebration of cooperation, education, and maritime heritage. That may be the greatest mystery of all, not how these ships survived, but why they continue inspiring millions of people, generation after generation. So, if you visit Baltimore during SAIL250, don't simply photograph the ships. Look closely. Study the rigging. Imagine crossing the Atlantic without engines. Picture sailors climbing towering masts in the middle of violent storms. Think about the explorers, the immigrants, the defenders, the merchants, the dreamers, the people whose lives unfolded beneath those sails. Because every ship carries more than a crew. It carries history, and every harbor remembers. This has been Mystery Seekers Episode 10, celebrating SAIL250 Baltimore, honoring America's maritime legacy, and reminding us that the greatest mysteries are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to ask, "What happened here?" If you enjoy uncovering the hidden history, legends, and forgotten stories behind the places around you, download the Mystery Seekers app today. Enter any address and discover the mysteries, treasures, legends, and historical events connected to that location. Your next adventure could be just around the corner.